In this video tutorial, we're going to cover the buyer's listing, and then on the next video, we'll be looking at how the invoicing system works. So let's go to the buyer's listing. The buyer's listing will have a list of each individual buyer. Right now, we've only got the default buyer in there, which is named walk-in client. The reason for the walk-in client name is that if you are not going to provide or get the client that is walking into your store, the buyer, to give information for information to follow up with them. For example, in this screen, you would have the buyer's name, address, city, state, province, zip, country, and then numbers and an SMS if you have it. Now, why would we ask for all that? Well, there's a combination of reasons why. The first one is within your local area, if you have people that are coming into your consignment store and you want to keep their information, you would be able to provide sales and updates and specials, things that you're grouping or selling in your store. You can either email them the information, you can send it by snail mail, you could send it by message, phones, or email, or Skype, any one of these. It's very helpful from the standpoint of the buyer to have information that is useful for your marketing and management of sales and other information. For example, if you have a special event where it's going to be a sale at someone's location where you're going to be an estate sale or a moving sale, you would have a certain number of people by the description by the buyer. You might want to put in here where it says buyer's notes that this person likes to be notified if there's any estate sales or moving sales or other sales that you're providing. You can actually, this may sound crazy, but you can do a do action search and search for keywords like estate sale or whatever, and that'll bring up all the records, and then you can view them in the buyer's listing for all the people that were selected that were interested in a sale like this. You could then take the email or messaging or whatever based on what the notes say, and you could send out either an email or even call them if you wanted to notify them of an estate sale or a moving sale that's coming up or any other special event that you're offering. Directions, you can get directions here so you don't have to stumble around trying to find them. These are directions for the buyer, where the location for the buyer is. And one of the reasons for that is if you're going to take the directions, you can also use the map here to go to any location in your local area where you're going to have buyers come in where they want to have you deliver or pick up stuff at their location. Maybe it's a building, office, or a home location where you're looking for things that you want to consign. And if you have them listed as a buyer, they can also be a consigner. And that's one of the things that a lot of people miss out on when they're doing consigned sales, that when buyers come in, you can also notify them periodically that they can bring in items that you want to consign. So you can keep up the flow of items to your store by keeping in contact with the people that were buyers. Then they would become consigners, and you would add them to your consigner records to bolster your sales by not having to advertise for consigners, but take the existing people that you have and send out maybe a group email to those people. Now you can export data out of this app and out of the Windows and on the iPad you can export their data. You can do it in a tab limited format or a CSV file, which is used on many of the email accounts. And also you can export them out as Excel so that you can have a listing that you can modify or send to whatever type of system that you're using of email, mass sales, and also advertising. Okay, on this screen, we've covered pretty much everything that's on the buyer screen. We saw the the list view, pardon me, and we have these buttons that are able to take you to different things within the application. For example, you may want to use the labels, the small labels, and run a list of labels for the buyers, for example, and just use the buyer list to send out stuff. Now, if you want to do that and you want to be for the labels for a buyer, that is not included in this version, but it is all set up to do whatever size labels you want to do, like envelopes. If you ask us, we'll go ahead and provide that when you purchase the application to put in the buyer's labels. There are many people that don't think that they want to do mailing because it's so expensive anymore. So we did not add that into here. Keep in mind that we can also do 3-inch wide tape when you're doing a transaction where you're selling something in your store. You can also have a layout update put in to do the 3-inch wide thermal paper labels and also invoices with that. Invoice payment portal. This goes back to the invoice where you can look at the payment portal, order invoice portal, and of course where you're editing and doing input for invoices. Now the natural step is this is closely coordinated with the invoices. So when you go to the invoice, this invoice, which we're going to cover in the next video, we will explain how you can use the data from the buyer's list in creating the invoices. So in the next video, we'll be covering that on this screen and the associated screens that are tied to the invoice itself. Okay, keep in mind when you're adding a buyer's item or buyer data, you have to add a new record for each new buyer that you're putting in. So that's one of the things you'd be aware of. This will automatically be added for the buyer's ID, and the timestamp will automatically put in the date and time that the buyer was added to the database. That's kind of important when you're looking at the information of who is the newest, or somebody that, say, for example, you maybe want to group people by dates that they came in or something like that. Anything you want to do for that date you can use for this. The date stamp is automatically entered, so you don't have to put in this data. As soon as you create a new record by adding any data in this field, it will also add the timestamp and the buyer's ID. You can't edit the buyer's ID. It's locked, so you can't modify it. And when it sequences one at a time, that'll never have a problem where you're going to have the buyer data put in here where it'll not include the buyer's ID. Okay. That being said, you can also delete a record, but be very, very careful when you delete records. You don't normally delete a record, but there will come a time where you have a buyer that maybe never comes in, never does anything as far as purchasing, but you have their information. And if you feel like maybe they moved away or whatever, and they've never had any transactions, you can delete the record. Make sure, though, that when you have an invoice, if it was created for them, keep their buyer's record. It's vital to your annual tax and other calculations that you may need to use for your taxes during the year and also at the end of the year. Okay, with those said, let's go to the next video, which will cover the invoices and the input and data for an invoice. Thank you.